becomes inner speech. Vygotsky cultural role shapes cognitive tools, bouddhic thinking. Vygotsky learning versus development. Learning precedes development. Learning then development. Vygotsky teacher role, meditator, facility guide, co-constructor, mediator, मध्यम बीच में. Vygotsky method, experimental, developmental, historical analysis, developmental, experimental, focus, social, cultural, historical context, focus, social, cultural, सामाजिक सांस्कृतिक historical context. Vygotsky criticism, less emphasis on biological maturations. Vygotsky criticism, less emphasis on biological maturations. Less emphasis on biological maturations. Emphasis. Biological maturations. Vygotsky criticism. Vygotsky education implication. Cooperative learning, peer tutoring. Cooperative learning, peer tutoring. Vygotsky internationalization. Social process becomes mental process. Vygotsky example. Child solves puzzle with adult help. Cooperative learning, peer tutoring. Vygotsky education implications. Vygotsky criticism, less emphasis on biological maturation. Less emphasis on biological maturation. Focus, Vygotsky method. Vygotsky versus Piaget, a social versus individual construction of knowledge. Social versus individual construction of knowledge. Vygotsky versus Piaget. Vygotsky play role, create a JPD. JPD means JPD, symbolic thinking. No fixed stages, continuous development. Vygotsky. Social versus individual. Language, symbols, diagrams. Cognitive tools, language, symbols, diagrams. Vygotsky. Vygotsky internalization, social process becomes mental process. Child solves puzzle with adult help. Example of JP. Child solves puzzle with adult help. Cooperative learning, peer tutoring, education application. Cooperative learning, sahajogatmak. Peer tutoring, peer, students, friends, tutor, help. Criticism, less emphasis on biological maturations. Yes, emphasis. कम ध्यान देते थे. Biological maturations. Vygotsky focus, social, cultural, historical context. Experimental developmental. JPD. Gap between actual plus potential development. Zone proximal development. Vygotsky education value contextual, culturally. Collaborative learning, group work. Collaborative learning. Vygotsky view and instruction should be ahead of development. Should be ahead of development. Vygotsky concept of mediation. Tools plus sign immediate learning. Vygotsky stages, no fixed stages, continuous development. Vygotsky versus Piaget, social versus individual construction of knowledge. Social versus individual construction of knowledge. Vygotsky versus Piaget. Fixed stages, content development, tool science, behavior conscious meditation, tool science meditating, behavior instructions should be ahead of development. Vygotsky collaborative learning, group work, peer scaffolding, peer. Vygotsky education value, contextual culturally. Erikson theory, psychological, psycho, psychosocial status development, social stages of development. Erikson theory. Erikson total stages, 8 stages across lifespan. Psychosocial सामाजिक मनस्तत्व. Erikson centrality, identity versus role confusion. Ego development, role confusion. One, trust versus mistrust, 8 stages. Birth 1 year. Caregiver reliability, only caregiver पर rely करता है, विश्वास है, belief. Autonomy to versus same, 1 to 3 years. Toilet training, independence, toilet training. Okay. चप्पल भी देखिए. Autonomy versus same. Initiative versus guilty. 3 to 5 years. Plan activities. Purpose. Initiative versus guilty. 3 to 5 years. Plan activities. Purpose. Industry versus inferiority. Industry versus inferiority. Plan activities purpose. 6 to 12 years. School competence. Identity versus role confusion. 12 to 18. Self identity. 6. Intimacy versus isolation. No. Intimacy versus isolation. 18 to 40 years. Relationships. Intimacy versus isolation. 18 to 40 years. Intimacy versus isolation. 18 to 14 years. Relationships. Generativity versus stagnation. 40 to 65 years. Contribute to society. Generativity versus stagnation. Relationships. 40 to 40 years. Intimacy versus isolation. Generativity versus stagnation. 40 to 65. Identity versus role confusion. Industry versus inferiority. School competence. Initiative versus guilty. Non-activity purpose. Autonomy versus same. Toilet training. Trust mistrust. But to 1 year. Caregiver reliability. Stage 80. Ego integrity plus despair. 65 plus years. Ego integrity versus despair. Erikson, psychosocial crisis. Turning point, a conflict to resolve. Oh. Yeah. Very. Erikson, psychosocial crisis. Coordination. Erikson, psychosocial turning point, conflict to resolve. Ego integrity despair. Erikson's role of society, culture plus social expectations. Erikson identity, sense of self, continuity, uniqueness. Erikson teacher implication. Support of competence, encourage identity. Erikson. Teacher implication, support of competence, encourage identity. Identity to encourage, support competence. Stage 4 in schools. Industry, mehnat through academic stacks. Next parisram. Stages 5 adolescence in adolescence. Explore roles, values, beliefs. Explore roles को बढ़ाना. Erikson virtue for stage 1. Hope. Erikson virtue stage 5. Fidelity, hope, आशा. Criticism stage less precise. Stages less precise. Cultural variation. Cultural, सांस्कृतिक variation. Erikson method. Case study. Biographical analysis. Case study biographic analysis. Erikson focus ego development, ego social relationships, सामाजिक social relationships. Erikson educational goal build self esteem, आत्ममर्यादा. Identity formations, अपना पहचान. Erikson crisis resolutions, balance of positive versus negative outcomes. Positive versus Erikson crisis resolution, balance of positive versus negative outcomes. Balance of positive versus negative outcomes. Crisis resolutions. Positive versus negative outcome. Erikson versus Piaget. Psychosocial versus cognitive development. Psychosocial, बौद्धिक development. सामाजिक, मनस्तात्विक सामाजिक. Erikson crisis resolution, balance of positive versus negative outcome. Kohlberg theory, stages moral development. Kohlberg method, Henge dilemma, moral reasoning. Henge dilemma, moral reasoning. Kohlberg's total levels, 3 levels, 6 stages. Pre-conventional morality based on the consequences, self-interest. Moral reasoning, stages of moral development. Moral. Pre-conventional moral based on the consequences, self-interest. Self, खुद का interest. Morality based on the consequences, obedience, punishment, avoid punishment, follow rules. Individual plus exchange, fair exchange, you scratch my back. Conventional morality based on social norms. Conventional individual exchange, fair exchange, good interpersonal, be good, gain approval, good interpersonal. Law and order, maintain social order. Moral development, good interpersonal, be good, gain approval. Post conventional, so conventional, morality based, convention, social norms, morality based on social norms, approval, be a good, gain, socially सामाजिक नॉर्म नियम को मानना. Social order, post conventional morality based on the principles, justice, social contract, laws are social agreement, changeable, universal principles, ethical principles, human rights. Good interpersonal, be good, gain approval. Good interpersonal, be good, gain approval. Law and order, maintain social order duty. Post conventional morality based on the principle justice. Post conventional social contract, laws are social agreements, changeable. Social contract, post conventional, universal principles, ethical principles, human rights, moral reasoning, how one thinks, not what one does. Kohlberg's teacher role facilitate moral discussions, dilemma, education implication, moral classroom, climate, peer talk. Students talk with each other. Criticism, Western bias, gender bias, stage sequence. Carol Gilligan critique. Care ethics versus justice ethics. Kohlberg stage progressions, invariant, sequential, cannot skip. Invariant. Example stage 1, don't steal to avoid jail. Moral. Example stage 6, steal to save life, universal right. Life के लिए, save life. Criticism, Western bias, gender bias, education implication, moral classrooms, climate, peer talk, teacher role, facilitate moral discussions, facilitate dilemma, how one thinks,